Hello, floating blocks of gravel, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Far Lands or Bust. We are continuing where we left off in the last episode, kind of on a shoreside redemption, a shoreside hidey hole here. Which way do we gotta go? We gotta go that way, so let's just hop on a boat and start traveling west with Wolfie in episode 367 of the aforementioned Far Lands or Bust. Indeed. So we're continuing on here. Like I said, episode 367. It's Wednesday, June 18th, 2014, and we've raised a little bit more money for Child's Play charity since the last episode. We're up to $5,525.55. I will be extraordinarily disappointed if somebody does not donate exactly $30 in order to get it to be all fives. I will be very disappointed, and so will Doc M77, because he likes those things. He likes when all the numbers are the same. I don't know why. It's a thing. It's his thing. But yeah, great stuff indeed to be continuing to raise money for that charity, to get toys, books, and games to kids in hospitals around the world. That is what Child's Play charity does. And since the inception, and Leonardo DiCaprio, since the inception of Far Lands or Bust, the Child's Play charity fundraiser, we've raised over $275,000. It's crazy. Nuts. Insane. In the aforementioned membrane. But enough about that. Let's continue making progress. Let's talk about some stuff. I could consider getting some more wool for beds eventually. Perhaps I'm kind of doing alright on wood. But yeah, we'll just have to see. Sheep are plentiful. I do have a little bit of a space launch notice, I suppose you could say. A heads up, if you will, and I will, and I'm about to. SpaceX. Of course, we're all familiar with the Dragon capsule and the Falcon 9 rocket. The next launch of the Falcon 9, no Dragon this time. This is a commercial launch of the Falcon 9, will be on Friday, June 20th at 6:08 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I could tell you in Friday's episode, but I feel as though by then it will have already happened by the time Friday's episode goes up. You know, that's about pretty much exactly the time Far Lands or Bust goes up. But yeah, another launch of the Falcon 9 rocket. Now, I'm not sure if this one is also going to continue the testing of the landing legs and the return to launch efforts to reusable first stage. I'm not sure. I would assume they would, kind of get dual purpose out of each of these launches. But this is not a Dragon capsule being launched. This is actually a commercial payload for, what is this for? Orbcom OG2. It's a satellite constellation that is multiple satellites. I think on this one rocket they're launching 6 satellites. It's basically a cluster of satellites that will provide communication for commercial, it seems like from the articles, like ships at sea, oil platforms, long distance kind of trains and trucks and things, I believe, is kind of just a global communications system. And yeah, this is just one of the many frequent commercial customers that, in addition to NASA paying SpaceX to get resupply ships up to the International Space Station and eventually manned rated Dragon capsules, this is a commercial, unmanned, obviously, unmanned launch. So yeah, check that out. It's usually, I'm not sure if NASA would broadcast this, but definitely SpaceX.com /webcast or /live or something like that. They generally have a live webcast of their launches, so that'd be a cool space launch. Space launch to watch, rather. Space launch to watch. Say that many, many times fast. I will not attempt it. But also, speaking of SpaceX, Elon Musk is in the news. He did an interview where he said he wants SpaceX to put humans on Mars by 2026. That's 12 years. 12 years from now. That's rather soon. That would be great. And I've always known it to be one of Elon Musk's kind of goals and inspirations to start SpaceX is to kind of pick up where perhaps NASA and government-funded space programs are kind of floundering, but, using in partnership with NASA, but also as an alternative to what NASA is working on, the SLS and the Orion spacecraft, which is kind of a leftover recycled technology that was being built for the Constellation program before it was canceled. That one isn't even, they roughly say, maybe by 2030, possibly, 2040 is more realistic for NASA if left to its own devices to put boots on the surface of Mars. Which is it's also go gravy. I'm sinking. Wolfie can navigate the ice a lot better than me. Oh, excuse me. So that's kind of cool. It's yet to be seen. It's yet to be, there's a lot that has to happen in those regards. So Wolfie's lost. he's gone into wander mode. Now you gotta spawn over here, guy. There we go. So yeah, that would be kind of cool, and they would be using the Falcon Heavy. The Falcon 9 rocket is the one we're kind of familiar with. The Falcon Heavy is basically 3 Falcon 9s strapped to each other. There's much like we do in Kerbal Space Program. We have a main booster, but then we just tack on 2 to the side. That's what the Falcon Heavy is, and when that thing flies, it's actually going to fly again commercial payloads within the next year. That should be a sight. That should be a sight to see, but kind of a crazy spacecraft that will have more payload lift capabilities. I think more lift capabilities than even what the SLS is claiming to be able to do. The Space Launch System, or HLS, or Heavy Launch System. I don't know what they're calling it at NASA now, but yeah, they could use that and over multiple launches construct a Mars spacecraft in orbit, again, much like we do in Kerbal Space Program, and then set it on its course to Mars. That would be something to look forward to. So yes, people always ask, do you think we'll put humans on the surface of Mars in your lifetime? And I'd say my hope dwindles on a day-to-day basis, but this news certainly helps keep my spirits up. Certainly not, in 12 years, probably not anybody from my generation. Maybe. It's still a possibility, because you think you would want some experienced astronauts, people who might have 5-10 years of flight experience and space flight under their belt. Normally astronauts get chosen for the astronaut class. They're generally in their early 30s, because by then they've made multiple PhDs or engineering degrees, or they've been in the Air Force, or this or that or the other. They're chosen for the astronaut force in their early 30s. They first fly to space in their mid to late 30s, much like the crew of Apollo 11 were all 39 years old at that time. And so yeah, I could see in 12 years, I'll be in mid 40s or so. I could. That's potentially a decent age. Excuse me, Squid. That's a decent age for some astronauts to go. If not my generation, perhaps the generation younger, perhaps your generation. Only you can prevent forest fires and put a footprint on the moon. Or, on Mars. Mars, we're talking about Mars, Smokey. What's wrong with you? Stop smoking, Smokey the bear. So, yeah, interesting little space news happening right there. Also, as we speak, Amazon, of Amazon.com fame, is putting on their little Apple-like event, and they have revealed indeed that they've made a smartphone. That's all I know about it. I just saw the tweets and the articles start to pop up in my RSS feed, and it's called the Kindle Fire Phone, or the Fire Phone, or Firefox Phone. No, not the Firefox Phone. Kindle Fire Phone, or something like that. And it has a three-dimensional screen, a screen which tracks your eyeballs and then is able to simulate 3D without the use of glasses. Glasses like, oh, that doesn't work in this version of the game. 3D glasses like those donned upon my head. It's craziness. Craziness indeed. I'm not all that greatly interested in that because my phone is doing all right as it is. But yeah, let's go to sleep here, and we'll continue in the morning. Oh, okay. Well, we only had time for one snore cycle there. I didn't quite get into my REM sleep, but continuing on. In the last episode, I made a mistake. I had a flub. I was ill prepared for answering a certain question. Ethnicolor. If you remember. Ho! Hey, Wolfie, where you at? I heard a bark. Let's get you to spawn over here. I want to check this out because there's some grass underneath it as well. That's some dangerous stuff. Does shift work if you're on ice? Okay, well that's not as far down as I anticipated, but that would be a dangerous thing to accidentally slide into. But yeah, Ethnicolor asked if I was interested in the Elite Dangerous series of video games, apparently coming up, and if I would be doing a Let's Play on it. I had never heard of the Elite or Elite Dangerous games. It's apparently a classic game, but I had gotten it confused with Sniper Elite. That's the only time I've really ever seen the word Elite in a video game title, so I thought it was a World War II title, and I said, no, not really interested. But I was wrong. It's actually, the Elite series is a space... They keep calling it a space trading game, but there's also space fighter pilot style combat stuff and upgrades to your ship, and it's like EVE Online but without the tax spreadsheets and stuff like that. I guess no, it's more first person in the cockpit style. It looks like. And I've talked about similar things before. People always ask me, oh, there's this game that happens to take place in space. Since you like space, astronomy, Kerbal Space Program, NASA, you must be also interested in this game. No, I mean, I looked at it, having never heard of it and having never played any of the previous Elite games. I'm not at all invested emotionally or anything in the franchise. But I just don't, I've never liked the space combat games. And yeah, it's worth keeping in mind that amateur astronomy, owning telescopes and liking spaceflight and NASA, does not guarantee that a person also likes all of the space combat shooters, science-y, supers, future sci-fi, Battlestar Galactica, and Star Trek style, media or anything like that. So just keep that in mind. And in fact, I'd actually go as far to say, in a poll of my few people I do know and people I've met at NASA tweet up social things and events like that and online, it seems like those of us who do follow the actual space program and actually are interested in astronomy and science and the spacecraft actually out there doing work and all that stuff, it seems like we're less likely to be engrossed in the fandom of those types of, like I said, the Star Treks, the Star Wars is kind of a weird, just a little bit, but it's kind of a weird thing. It's not necessarily about space per se. It's more of a like a drama western kind of thing. I know was kind of the feel they were going for. But yeah, your Battlestar Galacticas, your Babylon 5s, and all that stuff, we tend to be less apt to be fans or to be, diehard involved in those sort of things. And I'm not sure if it's simply because they lack the realism. Is it because they militarize space and we really don't want that to be a thing in the future? And yeah, I'm not sure exactly what it is. And on the flip side, it seems like a lot of people, and I might be generalizing, this might be an incredible generalization, but from what I've heard of people who attend like conventions like your Comic-Cons and things like that, you're talking to the people who who are very big fans, big Trekkie nerds, I say, and cosplay and stuff like that. When you end up asking them about the real space program, they don't seem to be too interested in that. So there is a little bit of a disconnect there. So yeah, I wouldn't say, in my own experience, this is just speaking from my own little bubble, I wouldn't say that a love and an interest in space astronomy and space flight does not assume that there's also a love of all these things I've been talking about right now. So, yeah, I've never found a space flight combat game that, it's something about the mechanics that I don't like. Generally, they get it a little bit wrong, and they say, when you're flying your spacecraft, your thrusters are constantly on, and you constantly have to keep thrusting forward to move forward. They tend to miss the Newtonian physics of that we could find in Kerbal Space Program. You thrust forward just a little puff of the RCS thrusters, and you're suddenly moving along, coasting in that orbit. They also ignore orbits entirely. You can be in an awesome space battle around some planet, and you can, like, on the turn of a dime, turn around and start chasing something else without it affecting your apoapsis or periapsis or any of your position over the gravity well of said planet or something like that. So there's a little bit of, I suppose, the lack of realism. I prefer flight sim combat games, of which there aren't that many good ones either, to space flight combat sims. There's something about, first of all, having less vertigo, I suppose, because you have a frame of reference, the ground, but there's also the added challenge of dealing with gravity and lift that kind of makes it a little bit more intuitive than, say, space flight. And that's why I've considered it, and people have tried to talk me into it, but I'm not really interested in the EVE games, even though I think EVE is planning an expansion pack that will include first-person flight space combat stuff that is lacking in the current iteration of the game. I'm not interested in this Elite series so much. Strike Vector, while I tried it a couple times, it had other just simple gameplay problems, but Strike Vector was a little bit... It was close. It was more of, say, like your first-person shooter, your Mech Warrior style game than it was space flight sim, but there was the lack of gravity and lift needing to be worried about because you could just sit there and hover. So yeah, that's kind of close, but even that, maybe that was a little bit why I didn't like that game particularly too much. So yeah, no, not really interested, and not too interested in any of the X-Wing games or any of those of the past. It just seems yeah, I don't know, just not my cup of tea. It's hard. I'm trying to quantify it or trying to defend my position, because it's perfectly fine if you are a fan of that, but I feel like I don't need to. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. I like Kerbal Space Program. That's kind of a cool space flight game, I suppose you could say. What else do I like? I could potentially see liking Space Engineers. Maybe. There's some, still early alpha, early access or whatever it is, but, there's potential there. I just haven't had the time to really start playing that, and, other people who have started playing it are a little bit ahead of the curve, so I feel like I would need to find a new group to play with if I was going to do the multiplayer aspect. But, yeah. I apologize for not knowing my stuff when answering this question in the last episode. It is literally, I copy and paste all of these questions I get through the donations, and I just leave them there and I cherry pick them. I glance over to my second monitor, look at this notepad, a wall of text of probably got 20 questions or something like that, some of them entire paragraphs of text. And I'm like, this question looks like something I'm comfortable scratching off the list, so let's answer it. So yeah, I don't necessarily I don't want it to be pre-scripted. responses or anything to these, just because I like the kind of, oh, careful, Wolfie! The casual, let's play vlog style responses I give here in Far Lands or Bust. That's what I meant to do. I wanted to get rid of that extra pickaxe. Let's make an elevated hidey hole on this elevated mound over here. And we'll continue talking and walking. Whence the sun rises again. Oh, I may have done this a little bit too early. Let's do that and that. Woof. Whoa, careful, Wolfie. What was that? Oh, you're just jumping around. Dang it. All right, can we? The moon isn't up yet. Gotta wait for the moon. Good night, moon. Hello, moon. Where are you at, moon? Dang it! I wish for it to be night. One more darkness level. I'm calling it. Woof. Wolfie calls it too. There we go. And premature elevated hidey hole buildness. That's why that's never happened before. Jokes. The next question I wanted to look at here. I guess talking about sci-fi and stuff. Is it oh, wait, no, that's not the question at all. See, there's so many questions, I'm just getting confused. I can't keep my questions straight. This from Theta G with their donation asked, you made a reference to 2001 A Space Odyssey early on in the series. Yes, with the, oh, hi. Oh my god. Wolfie's like, look at me, look at me. Yeah, there was a, what was that thing called? A monolith or something like that. What do you think of this movie? To be honest, I've never actually seen the entire thing. I've only caught portions of it, or have seen the oft-cited, you know, the monkey throwing the bone, and you know, the whole sequence where he's flying through hyperspace or whatever is going on there. So I've never seen the entire film in one sitting. Specifically also the non-TV version of whatever I would catch of it on TV. So I can't quite say I have an opinion or a thought about the movie. I'm not entirely... My brain doesn't quite get too in tuned with Stanley Kubrick films all that well, so I might be a little bit handicapped in understanding or fully appreciating it that way. I mean, in that regard, I know that it is certainly lauded as one of the first films to actually depict long-term space travel in a realistic manner, what with the kind of centrifugal gravity generation thing and stuff like that. But yeah, I haven't actually seen it. It's a catastrophe of the highest proportions that KurtJMac, lover of all things space and outer spacey and movies and film, has not seen 2001 A Space Odyssey. I know, I know. It just isn't something that I ever gave time to. Hello, pre-built hidey hole. How's it going in here? Multi-room and everything? Very nice. You are missing, however, the trademark torch above the door. Let's see here. I'm running out of dirt. I'm officially out of dirt. Kurt's out of dirt. So yeah, sorry, but I don't have a thought on the film. What else? Continues. You also mentioned in your past mathematics and or maths, as you folks across the pond call it, football. In your past math classes were perhaps not taught in the best way. Could you elaborate on the teaching methods that didn't work for you? What would have made these classes better? Oh boy, here's another question I'm going to answer without pre-researching or knowing the topic I'm talking about. I think it's, ooh, careful, Wolfie. Whoa, careful, Kurt. It could be, attributed to the large class size, just in general, the American public school schedule of having. What did I have? It was like we started school at like some ridiculousness, like 7. Oh God, no, we're not going down there. Okay, all right, never mind. That whatever that pig drop is not important. All right, get up, stop, Wolfie. He's like pushing me out of the way. No, you move. No, I gotta get out of here. That's a creeper. There's a creeper. So it's we at least in high school we started school at 7:30 and it went to 2:30 or something like that, and we had 9 periods, 9 classes a day. So each class, I think plus lunch or something like that, each class was only about 35 minutes long, and then we had like 4 minutes between classes. Which is, you gotta run to your locker on the other side of the building, and then run to your next class on the other side of the building on a different floor, and try to make your way through the hordes of people blocking the hallway. It's a common question and problem with high schools, I think, in America at least. But I think there just wasn't time to actually spend time on it, and just the teaching in general. I feel like it doesn't, the major problem with math is that it's conveyed to the kids in a way in which they're like, why would I ever need this in my day-to-day life? And especially if they're backed up by, say, their parents or older siblings who say, yeah, I don't use this calculus jargon. I never took calculus. I stopped at whatever the required algebra was and just stopped at that. Of course, when I went to college, I had to start with remedial math algebra in order to be able to take Math 101 as a requirement. But it just it's just numbers and problems and show your work. I understand why you have to show your work, but again, in the real world, you don't have to show your work. All people care about are the solutions, whether or not it be a math problem or a design or an engineering problem or anything like that. It just wasn't conveyed, and I don't necessarily feel like they need to make it entertaining or have fireworks and bows and ribbons and confetti around math or anything like that, but I would have been a lot more interested if it was kind of phrased in the way that was something like, astronomy and physics. They always say the language of physics and the universe is math. Those sorts of problems intrigue me a lot more. Even something as simple as the floating point precision error and stuff like that, as far as computers are concerned, isn't more interesting, which didn't exist when I was going through school, really. That's a more interesting way to look at it than the very obscure and nonsensical, just here is a list of problems. Find the answers in the next 15 minutes in class. That's the only way it was phrased to us, and it was just frustrating. And it was, with most classes in school, it's a terrible, horrible thing to get the answer wrong, to make a mistake, and really it should be seen as a learning experience. Mistakes are good. It's okay to make mistakes in life, in school, in elsewhere, in relationships and whatnot. It's what you are able to then take that and learn from it, and continue. There's a billion quotes on like make mistakes because it's the only way you learn. Albert Einstein or what? That's not an actual quote, but I'm saying there's a billion quotes that are along those lines. But in school, you make a mistake, you're going to be held back a grade, or your GPA is going to drop by a point, and you're not going to get that scholarship you need in order to afford college. Your life is ruined. So, So that's, there's and again, I have not done too much research on this. I don't have any citations or articles to refer you to, but it's kind of an issue with not, let alone just maths class, but also other paradigms of mass public education in our modern times. Where you at, Wolfie? You've got some fresh meat. Oh, well, I've got some dead meat right there. Oh, okay. Well, I guess you're still taking care of business. But yeah, it's hard to explain. It's hard to explain. It's also similarly, I tried to take Spanish class, and their method of the agreed upon method in most Spanish classes here, at least in America, is the immersion method. That is, the first day of the first class, of the first Spanish class I ever took, the teacher walks in and speaks nothing but Spanish and refuses to speak English, because that's the only way you're going to learn, is if you're completely confused. And that was just, I like, for that first week, I'm like, surely I've signed up for the wrong class. This is like Spanish 404 or something like that. This isn't Spanish 100. This is a clear mistake. Something's wrong. The teacher is confused or something. And I'm like, I know. I've never heard a single sentence of Spanish in my... Well, I've heard, but I've not understood a single sentence or word of Spanish in my life. This can't be right. This cannot be right. So there's, and that's... Overall, the problem is all these classes and schools are assume that everybody learns the same, this one way, and that's the only way they will teach, and also at the same rate. All 9-year-olds must all learn at the 4th grade level. There's no other exception, so it's kind of an unfortunate side effect of both the large scale and public aspect of schooling and education in our society that could really use some help, I suppose. There's a lot of problems, but I don't have to deal with it anymore. Suckers! I'm done with school. But I do keep having nightmares about school. And that in and of itself is a side effect, a symptom of what might be wrong with our education system. Oh, well, I've already got a hidey hole. What's going on downstairs here? Uh-oh, that could be bad for everybody involved. Oh god, that is bad for everybody involved, especially those people down there. All right, go. Nope, stop. You're not allowed. I should light this up so things can't spawn in here. Bye, Wolfie. Woof to you too. Okay. I don't know if... No, this is a terrible place. Actually, yeah, let's actually stay in our original hidey hole we were digging out. No need to get fancy here. So let's do that, and then beep bop. All right. Whew. Feel much better in this little claustrophobic space. So yeah, you always have, even as an adult, as an adult in his early 30s, I have these nightmares about being in school, and it's test day in math, and I'm like, I didn't realize we had a test. I didn't even realize I was still in school. I swear I have a degree and I graduated, and I've been self-employed for the past 3 years. Why do I need this test? Oh my god, I don't remember my combination to my locker. Oh god, how am I gonna get in here to get my book? Oh gosh, I'm late for class now. Now the teacher's gonna be mad. I'm gonna get a detention. Oh gosh, oh man, I'm not even supposed to be here. Why are these hall monitors allowing me, this crazy adult with a beard, to walk around this high school? I'm gonna get caught. This isn't right. And then the panicked sweat and heavy psychological trauma begins. So you're not alone, fellow adults who still have nightmares of school, and for those of you who are still in school, prepare for a lifetime of terror and night sweats, because that is how life works, apparently. Oh man, what a depressing way to end this episode of Far Lands or Bust, but we have to do it. It's episode 367. Keep going to Far Lands or Bust to donate, or farlandsorbust.com, excuse me, to donate to Child's Play charity. I really appreciate it. Like I said, somebody donate $30, get us to 555 on the ticker there. That'd be great. And thank you so much for watching. My name is Kurt. I will see you next time. We didn't have a test. I don't remember a test. Oh god, I'm gonna fail. Oh god. Scree-pipted.